Hi there folks, Sam here, and welcome to my regional occupation video. Now the first thing is, good news, we're getting rid of regional occupation. It was a nice idea, it was lore friendly, it added a bit of a challenge, and they had the cool little, if you take over a settlement, it changes the kind of look of it. But there's no reason a lot of that stuff still can't be in the game, without limiting you to using like the regional occupation mod, which to be fair, didn't bother me too much. But it was just something else you thought CA should have done themselves. So where does this leave us for Game 2? Well, we know two things. We know that first of all there won't be any regional occupation, but there will be some penalties or mechanics to add in the good parts but take away the total total block on conquering every region in the map. So I was thinking there's a number of ways they could do this. Obviously it's going to be some form of penalty for taking, let's say, humans marched into the Badlands. This is going to be our basic example. So if a human army marches into the Badlands, it takes attrition. If it takes Black Crag, what should happen? There's a few different things that could happen. You could have it straight up. Humans move in there and they get the full settlement. They build human buildings in it. If that is the case, then in order to give you some sort of limit, you'd want to stunt growth in that settlement, just off the logic that why would anyone want to live in the desert when they could live in the lovely lands of the Empire? But growth is a bit funny in the game just now as it is. Well, it works fine, but the increments in which it goes up in, you're talking, it really had to balance with how far you should take it down. Maybe even get rid of growth buildings altogether. That could be a thing. Or you could return to population, which is a feature in earlier Total War games. You needed a higher population to upgrade to higher tier settlements. And again, it'd be a similar kind of stunt, but because it's a population rather than a growth, you could probably factor in a bit easier. Even just because the units are smaller. Or change the units on growth, that could work. So they could do that, they could let you move in, and everything's hunky-dory, give enough time, you're back to normal. But that's more likely to slow up your game, and it would put, to be fair, if the objective is to put you off taking those settlements, it would. But you're talking, if you follow like a system, like I know some of my friends follow, where they take a new settlement, they wait there long enough to get walls, then they move on. If you're waiting for the growth in these cities to go up, it's going to take such a long time that really, it's not going to seem worth it. So the next idea could be, what about tier limit? So as it stands in your capital, you can go up, a capital of a province, you can go up to tier 5, and in every other town or city in the province you can go up to 3. So as it stands, that frustrates some people, and they end up using the tier 4 mod, which allows you an extra tier on your cities and towns, just purely because a lot of buildings you want to go in the same place. So a lot of the military buildings all interact with each other, so you want them in the same province, but there's also some other unique buildings. So if you take Altdorf, you're wanting to get all the high tier military buildings in the start, plus you're stuck with a port, plus you want like the College of Mages, etc., and perhaps a High Temple of Sigmar. So yeah, it makes you diversify, it makes you make decisions between what provinces can have what, and it works. But limiting that, the population tier in settlements such as Black Crag for the humans, I think 3 would probably be ideal. But then 3 is the same as you get in a normal city, so 3 for the capital. And what about not letting you conquer any of the rest? So if you conquer a town or a city in a province in an area you shouldn't be settling lore wise, you could have it where you must raise it unless it's the province capital, then you can occupy it up to a tier 3. So that means you're going to have a lot less benefit to it, which makes sense, but you're still not going to be too stunted. And you move in, you can still get a decent town. It's not great, you're going to have massive defences there, but it's going to be acceptable. I do think you should have walls automatically on the province capital, even though you can only take up to tier 3, it should have walls the entire time. I miss town battles, but if we can't get them, sieges. The next idea could be fort system, such as we had in Medieval 2, where you go into an area and you build a fort and it was basically just a garrison. That would let you have outposts. I suppose you'd have to have like maybe one building tree, similar to outposts for the Wood Elves, but uniquely defensive. So you'd have perhaps like a camp with like spikes and things, then perhaps minor walls, then like decent walls. And they would all have to provide some level of garrison, since you don't have independent garrisons in these games, which I miss as well. I used to like, okay, you worked out what garrison you want to leave behind, and then you could take one unit out of that and add it to your army if you needed to. Whereas now it's your army is completely separate from your garrison. So we've got our forts, we've got our walls, we've got a garrison there, but it would probably do a little more than just provide an annoyance for the greenskins in the south, and I suppose where else? The mountains. Well, I feel like humans shouldn't have too much difficulty living in Dwarven Karax anyway, or no more than the greenskins would. Because, I mean, you'd think, without being heightist here, height would be the main factor why you couldn't stay in dwarf halls. Low doors and low ceilings, etc. But again, you would just apply the same concept. A fort in the mountains, it would suffice. It would be better than what we've got now. Lastly, you just have outposts similar to we have in Wood Elves. So straight up, you can build one of three things, or four things, and that is what that settlement will be for you. It provides a benefit to you in your entire campaign, but it's not like a huge goal you'd be aiming for. Like, you wouldn't want to go take the full of the Badlands for the greenskins, because it wouldn't be much benefit to you. You'd get loads of little outposts, but you're not getting the benefit you get from full cities if you take like the Empire or the Vampire Counts or Bretonnia or Estalia, Talea. You get the idea. Which one do I think is most likely? I think you'll get full settlements. I think the capital only idea could work, where you just get the capital of the province, or they might just do it straight up. You get everything you would normally get, but with the penalties such as growth, unrest, things like that. But anyway, moving on. Someone actually asked me a question in one of my videos which I hadn't really thought about. What about the decor change? So if you take over a Dwarven Karak as the Greenskins, all these kind of statues come down and you get like huge effigies to the Greenskin gods. Similarly, your Empire cities look a little more dark and spooky if you take them as the Vampire Counts. So could you implement that for every single race? Probably. I mean, I wouldn't imagine it's far too much difficulty. So the guy was asking in particular, what if the Empire took greenskins? Well, I'd imagine you'd get rid of the effigies and the totems, and you'd be replaced by maybe banners, or like symbols of Sigmar, or like different flags of different nations or different provinces in the Empire. They would find a way. Like, it's not too much of a challenge. I hadn't really thought about it until I was asked. So the last thing I can probably slip into this video is, what about sieges? Now, everyone and their grand's been complaining about the sieges. I don't find them too troubling, but then I don't fight as many battles as most people do, because I actually play Total War on a laptop on the lowest settings, and it's dire. I will be improving my setup at some point. But basically, the one wall, it works for me, it's fine, but a lot of people have been talking about different ways to do it. As I understand it, the reason sieges are so simple is sheerly so the AI are better. So you get a better fight from the AI, and that's why the sieges are much simpler. But at the end of the day, I think most people would rather take poorer AI and have decent sieges. So I watched a great video by Lionheart and Inept General, and they were talking about perhaps you could do like a double layer or triple layer. So you break through the first walls, you have a fight in between, there's a kind of killing ground. Then you go through the next wall, and perhaps there's buildings. And then the third wall would be, that's the capture point. That makes them really tough, and perhaps you could add a wall per tier, because it makes no sense just now where you go from tier 1 to tier 5 and the city doesn't change. It seems silly. But imagining wider, that would be a good idea, and that would help with the AI problem. But if they could just improve the AI and put up with the bigger cities used to get, like attack from any direction, come in any door. Rome in Attila and Rome 2 was fantastic. Bridges and narrow corridors and siege defences you could put in your city. I like that. Your cities were really, really accessible, which wasn't, I didn't like too much in Attila. Like, it was really easy to get into the settlements, but you could put up like defences and you couldn't block every single alleyway. But if you could channel them or funnel them to a certain area. So one of my favourite strategies was to sit on the highest point of the map of your town and blockade in such a way that it was the longest route. They had to, I'm particularly remembering ship battles, if someone lands on the beach, you can oversee that from the high point. They had to walk up through your city, and if you put your barriers in the right place, or barricades, they would have to go round, and the entire time I could be peppering them with archers. And it's the kind of thing you'd expect someone would do if you're invading your city. You wouldn't go, I have all these walls and all these buildings, I'll just attack them head on. Nah. You'd make the best use of the terrain you had. I mean, we get ambushes in forests, why can't we get ambushes in towns? I mean, really? There was functions before, and I believe it was Empire, where you could hide inside buildings. Buildings going on fire, I mean, that was much more interactive with Attila. You attacked buildings, buildings went on fire, that was damaged in the settlement later, and it looked much better on the battle map. There's just a myriad of ways. They need to be more, again, the pun, creative assembly. Like, choke points, ambushes, just things that you get in a land battle, or a generic battle, that is getting stale because you're fighting almost every battle as army versus army. Without the towns and without the sieges and improved sieges, you're just running the same kind of battlefields into the ground. But see if you just add a bit more variety to the other ones, people fight them more, make them more available. If every town, rather than getting an open battle, got like a slightly, not necessarily a siege unless they have walls, like, but just a little bit of something. Choke points, barricades. You used to be able to be in camp stance and used to be able to put down like sharp stones and spikes, etc. Why not do that again? That was good. But again, we're talking about features where these are all going to apply in the old world. Do they apply the same way in the new world? Well, I don't know. I don't think temple cities have walls. I could be wrong. But the Lizardmen's temple cities, I think there's just a dense jungle round about. But could that be implemented? So let's say you've got, again, the temple cities are huge. So let's say you're getting the one wall feature again. Perhaps there's only a very narrow channel people can come through towards your wall that avoids jungle. Perhaps they take automatic attrition from, like, maybe you like balance it, or what attrition would they take from towers on walls? Okay, we'll take that. That is the jungle attrition they took. I'm assuming attrition will be quite heavy for most races coming through the jungles anyway. But you've got a jungle full of dangers. Perhaps there's some AI units on your side, like, I don't know, wild cold ones or something. Perhaps you put some units out, since you know they're going to come towards the heart of your city and capture points. You'd have choke points, I'd imagine, still, in between ziggurats, but you maybe put units out to ambush them as they come on the map, as they enter. I'm not saying you should be able to like wall them right in against the border of the map, but if you can put units out there that are hidden and ambush them as they come in, like a kind of guerrilla warfare, that'd be much cooler. I'm assuming Ulthuan has probably got walls, and it's probably quite similar to the Empire. Dark Elves perhaps quite similar. I don't think there's much in the way of trees in Naggaroth, but I really don't know. I've never been. The Southlands, again, temple cities. We don't know how the Under Empire will be implemented if we're getting Skaven. What Skaven? What are Ratmen? I think you should be seeing a Witch Hunter. Okay, we're probably getting Skaven. Almost definitely getting Skaven. We're getting Skaven. What would their settlements be like? Well, who the hell knows? Like, hopefully underground, hopefully difficult fights, hopefully really interesting. But are they just going to be straight up like a Karak battle? I hope not. That was annoying. Karaks are like built up as these amazing sieges, and you get there, it's one wall, it just is dark as opposed to daylight. Now, don't get me wrong, CA has brought in some amazing new features, and I'm not at all disappointed with Total War, and I highly doubt I'll be disappointed with Total War Warhammer 2. But you want to listen to your fans and see what people like. Again, going back to that excellent video with Lionheart and Inept General, which I'll put in the description for you to watch that yourselves. They were talking about actually speaking to CA staff who are saying, "Oh, you hate Sages, don't you?" You're like, "Well, fix it if you know it's a problem. It really can't be that hard. Don't just stick to your guns and go, oh, well, we've done it now. We'll just have to do it for 3 games. Why? You've made them out to be sequels. They're going to have different mechanics. Why can't you improve the sieges, town battles? I mean, I don't know. That's the thing. I mean, are town battles even going to be a thing? I mean, provinces surely are going to be quite tricky to handle because maybe in Ulthuan, fine. I don't really see much of the Dark Elves living in wee towns, living peaceful lives. And Lizardmen as well. Like, I thought their entire focus was in their temple cities. What will provinces look like? Again, it could be totally different. But I suppose we'll see when the game comes out. I'm still calling maybe September, October, just going off the distance between Attila and Rome 2. For me, the sooner the better. I'm quite a fan of the CA hype train on Facebook. Like, I check it most days. But in the past kind of 2 weeks, there's been a few 2 or 3 day stretches where there've been no information. I mean, and a lot of times it's things like concept art. It feels almost like they've announced their game a bit too early. Which, I get there's probably EGX Res, they were there, they wanted to announce it on a big platform, and they're waiting to, is it E3, and they're going to show something else, perhaps the Skaven, perhaps just some good gameplay. I think it'll be the Skaven E3, especially, was E3, is it June? July, June? We'll say June and the game's out September, October. Maybe that's enough time to show the Skaven off. Although probably just a Skaven trailer. But perhaps they need to go, okay, well, everyone's buzzing about Warhammer, let's throw them, Warhammer 2, let's throw them a bone, let's throw them this new DLC. The last DLC, An Old Friend, which I've been doing a mini-series on, we don't know what it is, we don't know absolutely anything about it other than it's probably Empire related, given the background, and it will relate somehow to the Old Friend. Some people have been saying it's a thing, not a faction, but then a faction could be a thing. Like, it's all, you really can't take much from it. A lot of people are thinking it's going to be Middenland, which is what I think. I think it'll be Middenland. I did a pitch as well. It could possibly be Dogs of War, and you're getting Estalia, Talia, Border Princes, just because that's quite a different start point from Middenland's going to be quite similar to an Empire start, because they border each other. But Estalia, Talia, Border Princes could be interesting. Anyway, I've rambled on for long enough. I'm going to go, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a wee like. If you're enjoying the content in general, want to see more, subscribe, and I'll catch you later. Right, cheers to now.